And we are live. So welcome, Gary. I'm really excited to have Gary Kaufman on our podcast today. So today is our 35th episode, and we have it titled Extending Your Company's Runway in a Difficult Environment. So, Gary, as you know, we like to start the podcast off by talking about an event that you went to recently that you enjoyed. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Stephen and Amelia.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, do you want to tell us about an event that you've been to recently?
I thought Bio in Boston this year was amazing. It was so well attended, and just Mass Bio did an amazing job at their booth and all the different events they had there, and the lectures and the speaking engagements from all the different groups. It really brought together the life science biotech scene, both in Boston and all over the world. I mean, they had people speaking from what was happening in Europe and England and Germany and Japan and Australia, all over, as well as all the different focus on Massachusetts and the great commitment to the Massachusetts biotech scene by the governor's office and the different economic development groups. The number of people that the life science industry employs in Massachusetts is, I think it's approaching 200,000 people. So it's growing about 10% also in the next year or two. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I love that about the Boston community, and I guess Boston and Metrowest is the vibrant biotech community. I know that's one thing that you're building out over at ABI-LABs too, Gary, is bio outside of Cambridge.
Correct.
And so I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about ABI-LABs, how you thought of the idea, where you started and where you are today.
So we now have 4 buildings on our campus. We have 140,000 square feet, and we host 50 companies and about 400 scientists are all there on campus every week. Just some amazing things happening. We started 10 years ago, and one of the first companies that we incubated was a company called Karyopharm Therapeutics. Karyopharm now is publicly traded. They're FDA approved for their drug that is FDA approved for treating multiple myeloma and lymph node cancer. And my partner, Dr. Neer, and I were talking, and he said, I want to do more of this. I want to incubate more companies. And he was doing this very informally in some extra space that he had in one of the buildings that he was renting in Natick, which is about 20 miles west of Cambridge. And I said, well, you can't just incubate one company at a time. Every company you incubate is not going to be successful. It's kind of an 80-20 rule. 80% of the companies do tend to flame out, if you will. And only 20% of the companies are successful. And even of those 20%, probably only 20% of the 20% are, actually get to the point of FDA approved. So it's a long road and a lot of hard work. And it's almost like a hamster wheel. You're always on that hamster wheel, get more data, raise more money, get more data, raise more money, get to the different approval processes as far as the FDA, go through the different clinical trials. And it's over $1 billion to get to FDA approval. That's what the politicians don't tell you, is how expensive it is to get to that one drug that you need to take to survive. Amelia and Stephen know of what I just went through last week, which was I had a brain tumor, or not tumor, but I had a blood clot in my brain. And I'm sitting here today because of the medical achievements and the medical advancements that we've made in this country. I would not be having this podcast less than a week after I had this blood clot removed from my brain, if not for the amazing medical advancements that we've had over these last 30 or 40 years, many of those in Massachusetts. So I'm very happy to say, I'm very lucky to say, and very excited to have a new lease on life.
Yeah, we're happy you're here, and definitely full disclosure from our side, we did not push Gary to do this in the same week. Gary was
I pushed. I pushed.
Full disclosure.
Asked him, are you sure? And we really appreciate it, Gary. And I think it's a testament all the research that we've done in the life sciences space, and the achievements that we have, where you could literally be rushed into surgery on a Friday and be good as new on the following Wednesday on a podcast. So
as Amelia knows, I do tend to push the envelope a little bit with work. I'm a workaholic. I love what I do. I love to brag about the advancements that the companies that we help are making. The true, for myself and my partners, the real true benefit of what we're doing is not a financial benefit. It is that in 10 or 20 years, we're going to be able to look back and we're going to be able to point to 5 or 10 companies that are making a difference in the lives of tens of thousands, if not maybe millions of people.
Yeah.
The multiple myeloma that I talked about earlier is an indication, and this is another reason why I've sort of dedicated the rest of my life to this the incubator scene and helping companies, is that the product that Karyopharm Therapeutics produced actually extended the life by about 5 years of a very, very close friend of mine who I knew since I was 2 years old, and met him in the sandbox at the local school, elementary school. He unfortunately developed multiple myeloma. Full circle, he ended up going on this drug. I didn't know he was on this drug until later on, but he got another good 5 years out of it, and he got to do lots more podcasts and bucket list items that he wanted to do in his life before, unfortunately, he was taken from us far too early in life. He was in his mid-50s, and but he got 5 years.
Yep.
That's what this field is all about. Everybody, everybody wants to live to be 95 years old, and they want to go out of this world. They basically want to go to sleep, and they don't want to wake up anymore. They don't want to be a burden on their family, their kids. They don't want to go into a nursing home. They don't want to, be in the hospital. They want to live in their own house.
Yep.
And the only way to truly get there is to develop more therapies so that people can live on their own and not be a burden. And that's the kind of advancements that people are making every day. And it's just amazing. Some of the things with different cancer therapies and cystic fibrosis, early stage cervical cancer. I'll tell you a quick story. One of the companies that was on our campus recently and graduated after they raised $115 million is a company called Mythic Therapeutics. And they came and moved to our facility from a smaller facility in Boston, and they dramatically expanded, and then they raised money, and now they're in this beautiful place in Waltham. But the story behind this company is that the founder of this company was in the foster child system, and he was adopted by a gentleman who basically raised him from the time he was little. And then he ended up going off to the University of Michigan and studied life science and biology. And when he graduated, his parents asked him, "What do you want to do now?" And he said, "I want to start a early stage cancer detection company." And the father had been very, very successful and said, "Okay, great. I'll help finance it, and we'll do it." Mm-hmm. And that company is getting closer to FDA approval for this product now. It's a truly heartwarming story about how these people who couldn't have children on their own took in and adopted this child and are now changing the world with
Yeah.
his ideas and his thoughts. So they should make a movie about this, I guess, about this story, because what I learned from talking with this gentleman is that only 3% of the children in the foster child system end up going on past high school. They go on, only 3% go to college. And this gentleman has since started a scholarship that finances college for students from the foster child system. And it's just, and this is just a couple of stories that happen, just amazing things on our campus with the companies, and just some amazing things that they're solving, and problems that they're solving. And this is what it's all about. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I love to talk about these stories. I love to hear about these stories. We make some investments in some of the companies that come to our campus because we believe in these companies.
Mm-hmm.
We met a gentleman from Japan, and he told me, he says, "Gary, I don't invest in what the company is doing. I invest in the people that make up the company."
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a little bit different from your normal venture capitalist or investor, because truly you can have a great idea, but if you don't have the right people who are passionate about that idea and really, work hard to make that idea happen, you're not going to get there. Yep. And he has a number of investments in very, very smart, hardworking people who are making these things happen.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, a founder can make or break a company for sure. And I know I've sat in on VC meetings where people are talking about potential investments, and that's always the conversation of, well, do we is this founder qualified? Are they coachable? These are things that VCs look at when they're talking about.
Absolutely.
Talking about whether or not a company's worth investing in, because if you have a great idea, but if you have someone who's not coachable, and thinks they know everything, well, then they're only going to get as far as their skills, and if they aren't willing to take that feedback. And I think that's
correct. I totally
really
agree,
important.
Amelia.
And I know I love ABI-LABs. I know I met you probably 3 or 4 years ago when I had the partnership with Insperity, my previous employer.
Yes, who we are now an Insperity person. I'm sorry to say that we didn't join when you were our representative.
Gary, how dare you? No, I'm kidding. I'm very happy you're their client now.
They wore us down, Amelia. They wore us down.
I mean, it's a great product and a great service, and I was there for a very long time for a reason, and I'm glad that you're going to see the benefits of everything they can do for a company, and especially from a medical benefits and HR compliance standpoint, because I know that's something. Speaking of the growth plans of ABI-LABs, I know at one point you were looking at expanding into other states. Is that something you're still looking at? I don't know if that was too secret.
No. It wasn't secret. We were looking at both expanding ourselves as well as doing franchising. To be honest, I'm not sure if that's still on the table.
Okay.
That's the best answer. We looked at the Miami marketplace. I think that's a growth area. I think the North Carolina area is also a growth area. That's probably no surprise to our listeners.
Yep.
New Haven, Chicago, and we probably wouldn't travel, the other side of the Mississippi. I'm very hands-on, as you both know.
Yeah.
And I think I have to, visit. I would have to be there part of the time at these sites. And as we just talked about, putting in the right people to be passionate is one of the hardest things is finding passionate people who really truly care about what they do.
Yeah.
I forget who told me this, at some point in my career, and they said that you really want on Monday, you really want to be excited about Monday. you don't want to be saying, I can't wait till Friday and the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they say you
And-
find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
That's
And
true. Absolutely.
I think that's why you work so much, is because you found what you love.
I do love it, and I love the fact that I'm creating a legacy, and I'm creating something that will live long after I'm gone and help people long after I'm gone. And that's, I guess it's a little kind of I don't know, too mushy, but our grandmothers, maybe my grandmother said to me, and I don't know if your grandmother said to you, Stephen and Amelia, but my grandmother said to me, leave this world better than you came into this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I remember that all these years, and I know that I'm going to do that now. So
Yeah.
I've found the area that I can truly do that. There are other areas of my career which was not the case. I did other things in my life in my last 50 years of working, but this is truly how we're going to leave this world better.
Yeah. And you live on through the memory and the things that you do through. Like, if you make an impact that expands generations, you live on through that as well. And I think that that's a very important thing to highlight.
Correct.
So Gary, one question I have for you, and maybe tying it back a little bit into the title, right? So the episode is entitled "Extending Your Company's Runway in a Difficult Environment." So what I'd be interested in is if you could kind of talk through like the number of the companies that you have there, and I know you're very much about networking, bringing people together, and kind of how you do that, like what your objectives are, and maybe some of the interesting outcomes that have come out of that.
So our big selling point is that we are about 40 to 50% less than Cambridge and Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a customer right now that is working to relocate to our facility. And this is a good example. They're paying $60,000 a month to rent space in the seaport. They've had some recent layoffs because of what's going on in the environment.
Yep.
And they're not using 40% of their space.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to relocate to our facility and have the same amount of space that they have now, with all the amenities, with the innovation lab that we have, with all the use of the conference rooms and the equipment and free parking and everything else, and closer to home for most of their employees also, so less of a drive.
Yep.
For about $20,000. So they're going to save $40,000 a month, or almost $500,000 a year.
Yep.
So that's extending their runway. As I said earlier, it's very much of a hamster wheel. And it's get more data, raise more money, get more data, raise more money. And you're on that hamster wheel running all the time until you get enough data to get FDA approval. And then you've got some revenue coming in when your product starts to sell out on the market. If you're lucky, you may be lucky enough to license your product before you get FDA approval. So you've got some earlier licensing revenue, but it's a hard battle. Yeah. And companies, about 5 years ago, they would be encouraged by their investors to take enough space that you're going to need as you grow, not take enough space that you need today.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
And so there's so many companies out there that have too much space, and they're just wasting money every single month. And they don't know how to, the only way they know how to extend their runway is, frankly, to lay off employees. And you could lay off some great scientists that really make a big difference in your data. So, save $40,000 a month on space that you're not even using. It's not gonna affect you at all.
Right.
So we've been talking to a lot of these companies that are in 10, 15, 20,000 square feet, and they really only need 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess, certainly, $500,000 a year plus the parking aspect, right?
Correct.
I definitely have the parking because I deal with that all the time, so I can appreciate that. But then, Gary, taking that one step further, because I fully agree with all those points. That's completely spot on, right? But then taking beyond that, if you could talk a little bit about the community that you've established there, and really how that networking is helping basically your tenants, but just more broadly the biotech and broader ecosystem.
Sure. So the reason why Kendall Square has been so beneficial early on, probably not as much now because it's too crowded, is the bump factor, as they call it. The ability to go get a cup of coffee or latte, and you bump into another scientist and you have that impromptu conversation about different challenges that your companies are having, and you come up with a great idea. It's like, oh, okay, here's the idea. Why didn't I think of that? It was right in front of my face. And so we have, we've got about 400 scientists on campus. We have about 35% of our buildings are common area spaces, lunchrooms, break rooms, conference rooms, the innovation lab, all these different spaces, if you will.
Wow.
And, people have these impromptu conversations with other scientists about, what challenges are you facing? And we also have 40 different events a year. We have 1 or 2 lunch and learns where we bring in outside speakers to challenge the residents about a different problem that they're having and to come up with some potential solutions to those problems. And then, of course, there's discussion and questions afterward. And then a lot of people mill around afterward and just to exchange different ideas. So these are all really, really beneficial to people. Also, one thing you didn't mention is that, you can't do science while you're driving an hour and a half each way to Cambridge. And that commute just keeps on getting worse.
Yes.
I don't know where you live, but I don't know what your commute is.
In Newton, but I've experienced many times, whether it's Cambridge or Boston or you name it, it's brutal these days.
Yeah. I mean, last week at Bio was great, but the commute to Boston was not great every day.
100%.
So I don't know how many days the two of you went to Bio, but it was brutal every day. And to spend 5 to 10 hours a week in your car driving, you can make a few phone calls here and there, but the stress factor, I don't know, how long does it take for your stress to calm down when you got to work? So it's not even the commute to work, but it's it's just sort of bringing down your body and the stress factor of the 3 accidents you almost had on the way to Cambridge or the way to Seaport. Fighting for that parking spot. I remember one time I went into Boston. There was meetings at a hotel in Back Bay, and I was circling the parking lot or the garage for like an hour and a half to find a parking space, and I couldn't find a parking space. There was no parking in the garage. And the ironic or the zing was that I had to pay my parking time to get out of the garage.
Stop it.
Yeah, it was horrible.
That's brutal.
It was.
I feel like that should be illegal. Oh my God. You just paid to drive around their parking lot. They should be paying you.
Exactly. And I almost got into 1 or 2 accidents also because there were other people also driving around.
Yeah.
So
and you're everybody was looking.
It was so frustrating. I finally just picked up the phone and I called my coworker and I said, "You take these meetings. I'm going back to Natick." So it's brutal. So you can't do work in that 5 to 10 hours. And so, add those hours to your workday or your life and change your life. Spend a little bit more time with your family. Go to the health club a little bit more. Sleep a little bit more. So it's a big lifestyle change.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Gary. And I hate to do this, but it is time. We are at our time. So before we wrap up here, one thing we wanted to ask you is, I know you have a couple events coming up. So what are some networking events that you are going to? I know you have a couple that you're hosting at the ABI facility. So if you wanted to talk a little bit about those, but also best way to get in contact with you.
So anybody is fine to reach out to me by my telephone number or my email address. So there it is right there. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm not a big Instagram person. Feel free to link with me on LinkedIn as well. You can find me on LinkedIn as well if you look me up. I will respond 100% to everybody. I'm also one of those crazy people that I don't like to go to sleep if I have more than 20 unread or unresponded emails. So you will frequently hear from me by 8 or 9 o'clock of the day that you reached out to me if I didn't pick up the phone when you called me or I didn't already respond to you.
Gary is a great communicator.
Yes.
From personal experience.
As far as events, we do slow down a little bit for the summertime because a lot of people are traveling. So we do tend to have most of our events not summertime, and we do slow down a little bit around the holidays as well, around Christmas. But we do have our biggest event of the year is coming up on September 17th in Natick. We'll have about 600 to 800 people there, all in the life science biotech profession. It's outside, on our campus at 22 Strathmore. We have a live band. We have food. We have open bar. Please, anybody who wants to come, please feel free to come. Go on our LinkedIn and register to the event. And you'll have a great time, and I'm sure, I know 100% that you'll see some people there. So don't be worried about driving alone because you're going to see your friends there. You're going to be introduced to some new people there. And maybe you'll have an opportunity to talk to some people who, can suggest some solutions to some of the problems that you're having in your science. So it's a great event. It's a free event. We love to have it every year. This is maybe our 6th or 7th year. I'm losing track, but it gets bigger every year. So we enjoy it, and I hope you'll come.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah. Thank you for the invite, and everyone who is listening should definitely check it out. It's a great event. It was great food, great music, great company, obviously. And sometimes you can even get a tour of the inside space, which is really cool.
Absolutely. And anybody who's looking for lab space or who wants to extend their company's runway, who wants to be the hero for your company, feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to give you a tour. We just had a new building that we opened up at 3 Dean Road, right across from Starbucks. Could be dangerous for some of you. And we do have availability right now of lab space of different sizes, everything from 500 square feet to 5,000 square feet. So quite a mix depending on what you're looking for. So
it's a great space. I've been there quite a few times with the different events, so it is fantastic.
And
Amelia, what about you?
So I am actually headed out after this call to Montreal for a family member's wedding. So
nice.
And I'm off until July 7th. So
what's the temperature up in Montreal right now? Is it cooler or is it hot like everybody else?
So it's going to be about the same that it is today. So it's going to be kind of like mid 70s, low 80s, a little bit of rain here and there. Until we come back.
It's a fun city. It's a beautiful walking city. So
I know, I'm excited. We're bringing my puppy up, so we're gonna have fun. Hopefully, she gets let back in the country. They're very strict about getting dogs in and out of the country these days. So I have like a stack of paperwork to prove that she's mine and she's up to date on everything. And I'm like, and I have pictures and texts. I'm like, this is my dog. She is up to date. Let me find him. Thank you.
Okay.
DNA.
So I have no events coming up because I'm going to be off and I'm going to enjoy some time.
So the one that you're looking forward to as well as the one on the 17th is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, there'll be more posts when I get home, but I want to save those for our next podcast.
Sounds good. I guess for mine, I'm going to put out 2 things really quick. So number 1, every Thursday at 7 a.m., which everybody loves 7 a.m. meetings, my B&I chapter meets in Newton. So certainly if anybody's interested in being a guest, again, 7 a.m., not the nicest time, but it's good to get up, start your day refreshed. There's always good coffee there and good people. Reach out to me. And then the other one I'm looking forward to next Tuesday is there is a Boston alliance with Alignable. And so Alignable is really kind of the focus on the business to business. And so that is once a month on Tuesdays in Waltham at Craft Food Hall. So if anybody's interested in that, give me a call. Happy to extend an invite. And that's what I've got.
And for people interested in kind of building a network, a BNI group is always a great place to visit. Whether or not you join, that's a whole different story. I think it's very individual to your business and how you run it. But I think that anyone who enjoys networking should always at least guest at a couple BNI groups, because you always meet at least one or two people that are good connections for you. And Alignable is actually a great platform too. It's a newer platform that I've been learning to utilize, but a great tool to connect with local businesses in your same industry and space. And I know that they're pushing more to have more events. So two great tips for people in the networking space if you haven't.
Yeah, super Alignable. I had actually reached out to somebody who's a Medicare specialist, got him signed up there, and he's literally had like a ton of fantastic meetings. And he'll be going to the first in-person one on Tuesday. So he's really, really jazzed about the whole thing. So you just never.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Gary.
Take care, everyone.